On this show, we've often talked about the dangers that could happen from artificial intelligence and other advancing technology. In today's show, we talk a bit about those dangers, but we talk more so about the very positive things that could happen from artificial intelligence and how it might help us solve the existential threats that humanity faces. Let's dig in. Welcome to the Human Survival Podcast, where we aim for world cooperation on critical threats to humanity. To survive, we must see ourselves first as citizens of the human race. To thrive, we must protect what is beautiful about humanity. This show is offered by the Human Survival Project, a grassroots movement for citizens around the world to push for a redesigned and much stronger United Nations. Our global threats need global cooperation. This is urgent, so let's start. Hi friends, welcome to the Human Survival Podcast. I'm Shelby Murtis. Thanks for joining us. So today we are going to talk about artificial intelligence and possibly technology more broadly. The Human Survival Project we have as one of the issues that we address is technology as a potential existential threat to humanity. It's tricky for some to think about it that way because technology does so many amazing things for us, and it's often been a force for good. But there's also a lot of damage that can happen, especially with very powerful technologies that are being invented right now, and humanity has not always handled its technology well. And so I've carried a really big concern about some of the artificial intelligence and other tech coming along and see the damage that can be done by it. And so, I've had a couple guests on the show recently that you might want to check out. Joep Mindertsma of Pause AI and Wendell Wallach from the Carnegie Institute. Talking about some of the dangers of tech and regulation that we need to put in place and all that. But what I want to do today is start to focus a little more on the positive side, because I realize that there can be a lot of positive that comes from this tech that's coming along. And I'm going to talk today with a guest who has, I think, a more optimistic mindset about it than I do. And I want to just welcome in various perspectives on the show here, and we can talk that out. I don't want this to be a simplistic, like, tech is good versus tech is bad kind of debate, because we both see the good and we both see the dangers. What I'm hoping is that we can talk through in this conversation sort of how do we balance these two sides. The amazing with the potentially devastating, and balance this in a good way. And then basically ask ourselves, what do we as responsible grown-ups do as, we're at the dawn of one of the most powerful technologies humanity has ever seen? How do we handle this responsibly? And what do we do? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And today's guest is highly qualified to address this with us. Sammane is quite accomplished in academia and business. He holds bachelor's and master's degrees in applied physics, a master's degree in digital circuit design, and a PhD in nanotechnology. Sam has co-founded and led successful companies in life sciences, IT, and real estate. He's written several articles on high-order logic, symbolic simulation, and automatic theorem proving. And now he has written a book called The Singularity of Hope, which aims to guide readers through the challenges and opportunities of the AI era, advocating for a harmonious fusion of human intelligence and machine capabilities. Sammane, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So Sam, as in the last couple days, as I've been thinking about our conversation today and sort of getting myself ready for it, I've been thinking a lot about AI. And to be honest, I've been having some dark feelings because I see the potential dangers. And it's maybe asking too much to ask you to be my therapist around this and help me manage my feelings. But, I'd be happy to hear about your book, The Singularity of Hope, and the ideas behind it. I'll be honest, if I were to write a book, I don't know if I could pull off hope in the title. Um, but I want to feel more positive about the future. And so I'd love to hear just your thoughts on how this might play out in a good way and generally what your thinking is on it.
Okay, listen, the word hope, it's not about the technology. I'm hopeful because of humanity. It's humanity who will give us hope, not the machine. So I started my book with the chapter that I call The Mind and the Machine. And in that chapter, was preparing the ground of the book. It's a book about hope for humanity, not hope for the AI. The thesis of the book is somehow changing the narrative about superintelligence. The term singularity, of course, is the term invented by other people. I'm not the one who bring it to the table. And the singularity in original, it's a mathematical term. And when I was young, it really always amazed me how singularities in mathematics can lead to unexpected results. Then they used it in physics to describe black holes. That means a phenomena that are beyond physics. And then in technology, someone said, what happens if we invent a machine that can think like a human? And then this machine is 10% smarter than human. So 110% smarter. And then this machine invent another machine, 120% smarter, and so on, until we achieve a level of intelligence that the humanity cannot understand. And then this machine take over. Of course, we'll have, let's call it in this hypothetical situation, a lot of innovations coming from this superintelligence, a lot of changes. We will be facing a new kind of reality when machine take over. This is a hypothetical situation. In The Singularity of Hope, my book, I took a little bit of pause and I tell people, hey, first of all, I like science fiction. I'm not against it. But this is fictional. Right now, we are very far from cracking the mystery of the human mind. We don't know how it works. A lot of passages in my book, I go back and I tell my fellow researcher in computer engineering, not because you have great achievement and very useful achievement, that means you know how a human works. And calling algorithm of computer engineering names that give illusion that we figured out everything is funny sometimes. Learning algorithm, deep learning algorithm. Okay, let me tell you my perspective. And by the way, it's a solid mathematical perspective. Machine learning algorithms are not thinking algorithms. They are sorting algorithms. They are linear algebra algorithms that at the end of the day, trying to organize information in a way that it's easy to retrieve and give back to us. Calling the algorithms with names that are familiar with our own intelligence is tricky. It's the problem. It's casting somehow an illusion that we figured out how to replicate the human intelligence, and we didn't. We are very far behind. These algorithms are casting an illusion of intelligence. Mm-hmm. You are talking with a software that can generate text. And by the way, I call it in my book what it deserves as a name. Giant spell checker. When people give to you the first spell checker, you didn't get worried or start having feeling that it may take over the world or destroy humanity. We just start embracing it and correcting our sentence. But as these algorithms start to grow, improve, now they don't correct one sentence, they cast an illusion of intelligence and generate pages and pages of text, generate images. And by the way, The proof is just not intelligence, it's cheating, it's just data organization and retrieval. Give the same prompt for the same AI software in two different locations, two different places, it will give you the same result or very similar one. They even have a parameter called it variation of result in their stuff. It's not really intelligence. In my book, I start by telling human learns with love. Emotional intelligence is our major asset. Babies learn language by the love of their parents, and the love of their parents will, or the family, is the first step in our learning experience. But even later in life, if you love something, you learn it quickly. And we struggle to learn things we don't like. This is our learning algorithm of human, not the one they call it deep learning. By the way, the term is very misleading. We think it's the learning is deep. It's not. It's the parameters that are deep. You have multiple parameters. And the way it works, if people are familiar with linear algebra, it's practically linear algebra applied to text and images. That means we have equations, we have parameters, and we ask the algorithm to guess what parameters will give you this output. So we have input, output. We are trying to figure out what are the parameters that will give you this output. Knowing the input, it's a guessing algorithm, and they call it deep learning. Good. That's fine. You can call it whatever you want.
Right.
Why I'm telling you this? Because putting AI today, of course, I'm not talking about science fiction. Yes, we have science fiction when we have imagined super evil intelligence and Terminator movie, other kind of movies where we have super intelligence, Marvel Universe movies like Ultron and other stuff. That exists, yes, and I'm fascinated by that. I love this kind of science fiction because most of the time we duplicate bad human behavior in the machine. Why? Because this is scary, right? When we don't know that scare us, and scary is always a good way to sell. And let's step back. Human intelligence today still a mystery. We don't know how a lot of things we do. Give example of intuition or gut feeling. It's an algorithm very mysterious to mathematician. We don't know how to write it. How come we human, we can give a decision, most of the time is right, without reading any data? Like this. This is the first step in our discussion, in my opinion. Going back, give the machine what it deserves, state where are we today in artificial intelligence or generative AI, as they call it. It's just algorithms that manipulate data and cast an illusion of intelligence.
Yeah.
I didn't figure out what's a human intelligence, but I'm telling you from my observations, it's a start with emotional intelligence. Not only good ones, could be the bad one. Let's go to the fears we have. Envy, ambition, right? Striving for power, controlling others. All these are bad or negative emotions that we have in our society. You talk all the time about how technology is dangerous. I will tell you, let's have my perspective. It's how humans are using technology. Technology
Exactly.
doesn't decide anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
The people who
Yeah.
decided to drop a nuclear weapon are humans. And
Right.
by the way, they were working in a government.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am for stating things where they are. So
Right.
technology is a great things in great hands, right? And
Mm-hmm.
bad things in bad hands. Let's go back, human. I like when people tell you it's done by AI because it's a very sneaky way to talk about things. No, it's not done by AI. It's done by a human using AI tools.
Yeah.
That's
I know.
fine. That's fine. But why
Yeah.
we need, in my opinion, to say it and say you need to reference who is the human? Because yes, we can do very harmful things using technology, and technology amplify us. If
Yeah.
if That's a term I used also in my book. I call human AI augmentation.
Yeah.
Start by human. But
Yeah.
yeah, please, you want
Yeah,
to.
I agree. I mean, I do have some concerns about long range, AI becoming smarter than humans and having capabilities and sort of going off on its own. But, we might destroy ourselves with AI even before that happens,
Uh,
because what it's
yes,
about to do is make some of the more dangerous and foolish people in our society far more powerful. Like, we know there's bad people who do bad things and people who do
I share
stupid
these
things,
fears. I share these fears. I'm not
Yeah.
afraid of technology. I'm hopeful that the only way to save humanity with all our challenges is technology. Like,
Hmm.
you say a lot of things that are, by the way, real. I have different perspective. I will not deny it, but what you are saying is real. Like, we misuse technology. We
Yeah.
misuse it for our negative emotions. Like, we want control, we want power, and we want to be rich, and we
Hmm.
misuse technology. But I am for accountability,
Hmm.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Uh, Putting the discussion, in my opinion, need to be about naming people, naming the human, and not being abstract about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not only the technology. We have Putin in this world who decided to start a war in Ukraine.
Hmm. Yeah.
We have people on this earth who use weapons to justify their negative, let's call it, emotions of fear, of control, and they will tell you, "Hey, it's a necessary things to do." Okay, myself, I'm a pacifist. I don't believe this is the way. I think we need to change the way we behave. We reached a place, and here I agree with you, when humanity can destroy itself.
Hmm.
Before AI is still in its infancy. I don't
Hmm.
believe within 100 years we'll have super intelligence. And for good reasons, not because I'm just, uh, let's call it, someone who is, hey, happy about technology and everything will be fine. No, because we
Yeah.
don't know. Sometimes
Hmm.
people use ignorance to multiply fear, and that sells well.
Hmm.
And this is why I avoided that in my book. I said, let's write hope, because fear sells very well. My publisher told me, why you call it the singularity of hope? Let's call the sum of all fears. Let's spread
Hmm.
fears. This is what will sell. I told him because it's not what I believe in. I believe we need to stop fear. I like science fiction. My hero in science fiction is Frank Herbert, who wrote the novel Dune. And in the novel Dune, he has a term that I repeat all the time: fear is the mind killer.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
We need to confront our fears and overcome them. And by the way, Frank Herbert talks about technology taking over, about a revolution human does in the future. He called it the Hitlerian jihad, when human take back their, let's call it, control out of thinking machine. So I'm fascinated by that. And it's a fear, legitimate fear. In my book, I address it. In the last chapter, I talk about how it's immoral and wrong to develop superintelligence. Even if we are we need to be humble, and we know we are very far from that yet. And the machine we have right now doesn't think. I like when people in big companies to sell, they try to manipulate the media and tell them, hey, we are working in AGI. Good luck. You are not. You are just manipulating text. And then they use terms that for other people it's care. Like how we have, it's learned by itself. It has unexpected behavior, emerging behavior. No, it didn't. Everything happening according to the programmer's expectations. Maybe it's not expected by the managers
Mm.
or the
Right.
business people, right?
Yeah.
It's unexpected behavior for someone who is not having the code. And I talk in my book a small story, fictional story, but it's just to illustrate. I say in the 90s, there was this little boy, Aaron, who discovered programming and he wanted to impress his grandma. So he wrote a small program and he bring mom, grandma, come, the computer is talking to me. Look, he started interacting. He wrote the answers because this is how the early programming was. The grandma doesn't know anything about technology. She looked at the son. Okay, maybe it is alive. I don't know. Then he said, let's respect it. It's my new friend. This in the 90s is today a big data scientist, a big AI scientist, and he's not fooling his grandma anymore. He's fooling the whole world. Look,
Yeah.
the computer is alive. It's dangerous. Let's have a discussion about it. I'm working on AGI. No, you are not. You are still text generation, generative AI, because it generates text, generate images. And by the way, generate from where? Not from imagination. And this is another mystery. We don't know what imagination is and how it works in human.
Yeah.
The text
Yeah.
generates from a database. They changed the name. Now they call it transformers. And fascinating how they find names that make things bigger than they are. We used to be familiar with database because in the beginning we saw it. It was tables stuck
Yeah.
together, right? Now they call it transformers because the form of the table got complex. It's not a
Yeah, it's
table.
like the whole internet, basically. I mean, it's
Yeah, they
it's
call
not
it
quite a
neural
spreadsheet.
network. They call it neural network. Why? Because it's similar to the name of neurons we have in our brain. But it's not. It's not the neurons we have in our brain. It's not even similar, or there is no relationship. And this is scare cells. So let's go back, and I will tell you that doesn't mean that we don't have challenges with technology. I agree. We will have changes in our society in the upcoming 20 years. I talk about it in my book because of technology. Even if it's not a human intelligence, it's a form of automation, intelligence somehow, because it's the case. It's mimic some of the operations that we can do, like manipulating text and numbers, right? We can do that. It's not only that we can do. We have much more complicated intelligence. I told you it's emotional, essentially, intuition, empathy. I don't know how that works either.
Yeah.
So to go back in my book, I talk about what I call the inevitable rise of digital proletariat, where you will have finally the victory of capitalism, because capitalism and technology goes hand in hand. You need a lot of capital to innovate. And then finally, they will have this digital workers that will rise, and somehow it's a new revolution, but this time the proletariat is digital. It's not the workers, human workers. And there is a lot of jobs there are a lot of jobs that will disappear from this world. It will be taken by robots, narrow intelligence, but still. Why? Because I tell also in my book, the problem is not that AI is thinking like a human. The problem, we human, we have behaving like machine in the last 50 years. We are training people not to think anymore, not to have emotion anymore, follow rules, follow SOP. Don't use your emotion in your decision. Use rules, use numbers. This is not the human, this is the machine. So these jobs will go back to the machine. We have suddenly improvement in the way we program and we do things, and we will have machine that can manipulate and follow rules and orders perfectly, especially in a narrow way. Like I was giving an example, folding your laundry is still more complex than composing a poem. It's a spatial intelligence, and we didn't develop it. We don't know how manipulate things in 3D in terms of robots. Our friend and the genius Elon Musk thought it's easy. He start talking, let's do autonomous cars, let's do robot, because he saw how impressive it was, generative AI in text, and suddenly, oh my God, it's complex. We don't know a lot of. It's easier to compose a poem automatically because the way it works. Let's say all the poem, let's do substitution. Of course, with manipulation of data very fast, with all the possibilities, and then they defined a new mechanism, algorithms they call, I don't remember the full name, but anyway, it was about how to emphasize the things that matters in a text. So the conclusion, there is a lot of kind of intelligence we don't know. So folding laundry is more difficult than composing poems, even if it looks weird. Someone once told me, I prefer that the AI folds the laundry and I will go and compose the poem. I told them, hey, it's not what we wish, it's what we can do automation for. And text, for a reason, and numbers has been well studied by a human for years and years and modeled mathematically, and we figured out how to put that into the machine. But this is the problem. The problem, human were behaving like machine. Not that the machine are catching up with the human, no. Here comes my hope. My hope, it's a chance for humanity to go back being a human. Now that we have a machine who does the repetitive and narrow task, limited task, let's go back and take care of a human. Let's redefine society based on empathy, love, the equal distribution of chances, of wealth, and build society. And AI here could be a very useful tool or an ally, if you want, if you use the term of media. In this perspective, this is where the hope is. The hope that we humanity now, that we have things that can help us get away of task that made us like machine in the last 50 years and go back being human. I'm not saying it's easy, because society is very difficult to change, but the way it will happen, in my opinion, very fast, that will be forced to act. When you have all these jobs disappearing suddenly, and government income coming from taxes on middle and poor people, this is the truth, right? Going away. Huh?
Yeah.
Here we are forced to change society. We are forced to think out of the box. And I propose a lot of ideas, and I call them dream of a writer, because I'm not specialist in all these domains, but I know we can figure it out. Now that we have what we call generative AI, and generative AI is very useful. It can augment our own intelligence, because the way it acts, it complements our, let's call it, difficulty handling too much data. It will not replace us. It cannot. It have no decision. But if we use it wisely, and here I go more advanced in my book, so I go to defining HAYA, human AI augmentation. And in this approach, I propose to mix both our intelligence and machine intelligence, and start by H, by human, by intuition, initiative. We want to build something, we want to build a project to save the planet from global warming, for example. So this initiative will never come from the machine. We need a human. Machine cannot do initiative right now and maybe in 100 years. So that comes from human. Then we need to have our intuition, what tells us. And intuition tells us, let's save the planet. We are living here. We don't want it destroyed. We'll die. So we need to save the planet.
We're trying to get people on that.
Exactly. We need to do that. But here comes, you're telling me why hope. But this is the hope. Hope, we will be afraid to die. So we'll act. And empathy, because I'm afraid for my family. I'm afraid for my loved ones. I want to save them somehow. Especially in the future, there is a lot of challenges, let's call them. They are not certainties. I don't believe we'll perish. I think we'll figure it out. And AI here is a perfect way with the human AI augmentation. We will have access to a lot of data now. With AI, we can summarize this data, use it to our interest, but always trust our intuition, our gut feeling, our empathy to choose the good from this information, optimize our research projects. The hope here comes that we will figure out how to solve global warming, not because AI will figure it out, because the next generation of super intelligent human, here comes the singularity of hope. The singularity of hope will achieve the singularity, but not by having machine that is 120% smarter, by having a next generation of a human 120% smarter that we cannot even imagine. People will born with generative AI, and hopefully will change education to make them use it to the maximum. We need to change society where jobs become more for creativity, empathy, like jobs that will never disappear. Is job when we need empathy. People cannot learn by from a robot. They need a teacher in the class, but the teacher must use generative AI to optimize his capacity or her capacity to teach. The same thing. Let's use the kids early on AI. So their learning experience, either by custom learning or even amplified learning, will go much higher. We don't need to memorize data anymore. Let's not struggle with that anyway. That's in the past. I remember when I was a kid, people in the classroom used to tell me, "Don't use calculator." It was torturing me at that time, but okay, you don't use the calculator. You go open the paper and a pen, and you start doing your calculation on the paper. But I will ask myself why. We have calculators, right? And assume it may disappear one day, that's very dark. Let's assume the best. Let's use them for the best of us. The same thing, it's here as a tool, giant spell checker that will help us manipulate a huge amount of data, summarize it, exchange information more efficiently. In fact, it's a correction for a system started 30 years ago. Information age, internet, too much information, too much fake information, right? This is AI can help you. And when I tell you help you, don't trust anyone. You know what will happen, and you will see it very soon. Within 5 years, everybody will become expert on programming without learning programming, because the new programming that everybody is working on, and it will work, by the way, because it's text-based, is natural language programming. You will tell the computer what you want.
Yeah, you just talk to your computer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
will generate a program. So you can program and use agents that goes through the internet, verify the data for you. And this is not my idea. It's from Jim Roth on his show. We discussed it, and he told me this idea, which is amazing. And it will happen. Not because I said so, because we are going toward it anyway. So you will have your own programming agent that will do programs for you. And that will challenge big tech. Huh? They are already suffering now. You will have soon everybody able to create maybe a Google search in his garage. With, yeah, that's what will happen. So this is the hopeful, because once that happens, we will sit down and go back to what's making us human, which is our emotions, and we need to face the reality. We are here together. We're stuck on this planet. We have this planet. I like the idea of going to other planets. It's fascinating, but they will figure out, oh my God, terraforming Mars is so complex. Let's at least correct Earth before terraforming
I know.
Mars.
I'd rather fix the Earth here. You know,
Exactly.
you've been hitting on some of the changes in the workforce that could happen with this, and I find it interesting. You know, it's one element that worries a lot of people about, everybody being unemployed and such. But I see opportunity in it in a couple ways. I mean, one is that people could be citizens more. So something that's happening right now is so many people are underinformed or not involved in politics or government because they're busy. They're working full time, they're working two or three jobs, they're just always on the go and don't have time. But we could actually develop a vibrant democracy by people having the time to come together in the citizens' councils, or like communicating with each other in a good way to make decisions about how our society works instead of being checked out and busy. And we can have all these workers redeployed into the unmet needs of our society if we decide to take charge of it and manage it well. But right now, you've got so many people working crappy jobs that they hate, doing stupid tasks. They instead could be out, cleaning the environment that we've wrecked, or they could be planting trees, or they could be fixing up our urban neighborhoods or other poverty places that have fallen into disrepair, or, work in the understaffed nursing homes or schools. Like these are things that are need to get done that we would finally have people to do, if we could just take charge and manage it, you know. I'm not sure, though, what our capitalist economy would do on its own without, vigorous government action on this front. Um, the capitalist economy, and I'm not anti-capitalism, but I'm just saying that, like, the forces of profit motive don't always lead to these unmet needs getting figured out, So it seems like we would need some vigorous government action to guide that. But I mean, do you have a sense of like what societal forces would need to come into play to make it go in the good direction you're proposing? Like, how do we actually get it done?
I think, first of all, in my book and everywhere, I talk about how the changes will go so fast in the upcoming 25 years. And I say 25 years, let's be realistic, not 5 years.
Yeah.
It's too
Yeah.
early, 5 years. And we'll have up and down. Like, first of all, there is a lot of hype now. So in the upcoming 2, 3 years, there will be somehow a burst of a lot of bubble we're creating around AI, because
Mm-hmm.
they are mixing AI with autonomous intelligence and super intelligence. We are not there at all. We are at narrow intelligence AI era, and that is very useful, change society again. All the machine-like jobs that we have been given our fellow humans all these years will disappear. Now, how changes will happen? I think from the new generation, I don't think someone who is 70 or 80 years old will figure out how to change society. There is no interest anyway. And in terms of things, I don't think if we don't act, we'll be forced to act because crisis will come when suddenly everybody can generate money in an easy way. We'll have inflation. Suddenly we'll figure out, hey, what's going on? People are not employed. Companies are generating a lot of money, and money has no value. Everybody can generate money easier than before because of the technology. So we will be forced to act. I hope that at that time, and this is a hope, that we act earlier than the catastrophe. And you talk about capitalism, I will tell you, it's the end game. It's suddenly capitalism, not individuals, reached the end of game where it has triumphant over communism in a way that we never saw it in history. But also, it's the end of the monopoly game. When you have an end of monopoly game, money has no value at the end. If someone has all the money, nobody has money to buy from this guy or this corporation. You destroyed the middle class and the poor people. Right now, we are far from that, but it will go accelerate with the technology and AI and robotism and the rise of digital proletariat that will take over a lot of jobs. Mm-hmm. No income for the government, a lot of money in the corporation, and no clients anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we will be forced to act. They will be forced to rethink economy itself.
Yeah,
economy
true.
itself, it will be collapsing, not in terms of, hey, we have a crisis. No, the term that we used to do, and here I start arguing about it in my book, and then I said it deserves a full book. Let's call it I'm trying to find a catchy name, but it will be named, maybe I need to work it with collaboration. It will be named maybe the economy of the singularity. Because once we have the singularity or the singularity of hope, where humans are super intelligent, productivity is very high, we'll have inflation, we'll have a problem of taxes and government income, we'll have all these kind of things in a massive way. And suddenly we'll figure out that the system is not working. What we've been preaching all these years about check and balances in the economy and maintain of inflation, interest rate, all that is not working anymore. Yeah. Things
and I'll even
our understanding.
Yeah.
Collapse of what? Collapse of the theory itself. And here, let me elaborate a little bit. When we are young, they teaches us perfect math that does not exist. Like they tell you square, triangles, line. That does not exist. We live in a globe. There is no such a thing as triangle except on papers and in our imagination. It's always 3D objects and more. Not only 3D objects. We have a fourth dimension, which is time. We have a fifth dimension, which is energy. And they will tell you, hey, the shortest path is the line. No, it's not true. There is what we call later shortest action. And you talk a lot about it in your show, and directly you tell, hey, we do something, we think it's good, and then there's a side effect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is part of
There's
the
always
problem.
unintended consequences. Yeah.
Exactly. But this is, again, because when they teach us, okay, a theory I learned when I was young, it's called the conversation of energy. Like it's converting from one form to another, but it's conserved at the end, right? It's not true. This is true in a closed system. We are living in an open system. We don't figure all the parameters yet, right? This is why we are causing global warming, because it's not a closed system. You have an engine. The engine is throwing heat, gases to the environment, right? So the environment itself, it's not closed. We have universal phenomena that we didn't figure out yet, right? So all these complex things, and we still in the economy with a mathematical model of check and balances, and you need to be careful how you manage the economy, right? Except when the rich people are in problems. Here we do quantitative easing. We print money for the rich, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we don't print money to save the environment. We don't print money to give middle class income and redistribute wealth, right? That we don't, because it's dangerous on the economy, right? It will collapse. It will create inflation. But I have bad news for them. The limit of your theory is very near. The collapse is coming in the theory. It will not fit this singularity where productivity will go up too much in a way we've never seen in our history. You talk about the beginning of civilization, right? When the percentage of energy to survive was very high. We needed to do ourselves a lot of effort, right? Then we invented tools, then machine, then energy transforming machine. That's big deal. This is where you call it the industrial revolution. It's practically when we learned how to transform energy at scale. We have electricity then, nuclear power. Oh my God, we can suddenly destroy the planet with nuclear power. That's never happened before. We human now are capable of doing very dangerous things. That's what you say, exactly. But I give it to the human. I will not use the technology. It's us. But also we have the capacity of doing great things. Now we can maybe correct whatever side effect we caused. And for that, AI is an ally for us. We need to use it this way, in my opinion. And the economy, oh my God, we need to rethink it now before it collapsing. Why wait until suddenly most of the jobs that we used to call middle class jobs and blue collar job and white collar, even white collar job, most of them will be machine-like jobs.
It'll be automated out.
Yeah. So that it will change too. And here's my hope. Let's create amazing things. Let's do big project now. Suddenly that this small stuff can be automated and done by robot. Let's do the great stuff then. Instead of having a small project to write text and do consulting, let's do great project to save humanity. And number one is global warming issue, because I don't think we are doing enough.
No.
Whatever we are suggesting now, small patches.
Right. Yeah. We need to change the economy and how the economy works to fix that.
And we have it. The theory are here. They know it. There is a lot of economists. That will be my job in my next book, to meet them, because there are a lot of them who tells you, yes, we need to change it. We have the capacity of generating liquidity. Let's call it liquidity generation, because printing money is a little bit degrading, right? And it's not money from nothing. It's investing in the future. It's how credit works, right?
Yeah.
If you have a piece of land and you want to build a house, it has a value in the future. The bank is lending on a future value.
Mm-hmm.
The same abstract idea can be done for the environment. We can create mega credit for
Mm-hmm.
not 1 billion, maybe hundred of trillions to do great project to save the planet,
Yeah. Yeah,
rebalancing
I agree.
the environment. And one of our big, I like a lot of people who are serious about it because I'm just talking, I'm just a simple author, small businessman in this world. But we have people that I admire for real because they are doing their part. And number one, in my opinion, is Elon Musk. This guy,
Mm.
he did what he has to do to save humanity. He built a company from scratch with his money to do electric cars, solar power. We don't talk a lot about his company, solar power, but Tesla solar power is something. Of
Yeah.
course, the Chinese went ahead, and that's also respectful. We always talk trash China. And by the way, I
Mm.
have another perspective. I'm not telling you they are bad but let's say their act. Forget about the rhetoric here.
Yeah.
They a lot of people out of poverty. They are trying to
I
go to
agree.
solar.
I
They are
know. I know.
faster than any other people on the planet. So
I agree.
collaboration globally, it's the time. We can
Yeah.
figure it out. Let's regulate things in a different way. I like
Yeah.
regulation, but let's do it this time with another term because the last century, 20th century, not our century, was really the century of American power controlling the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you like it or not, it was the truth.
Right.
Okay? And uh, you American create a lot of regulations and they impose it on the world in the UN. And
I
it's
know.
funny in the last pandemic how Americans government didn't want this mechanism that they have created to control them to start the organizations they have created. But I think
Right.
it's the way we need to go to collaboration, not regulation, because I don't think Chinese will like American to tell them what to do.
I know.
Neither
They have
Russian.
to decide together what to do.
Exactly, especially
Yeah.
in this new technologies, because
Yeah.
again, it's used by human. So let's talk as a human how we will use them in the good
Yeah.
of all of us. And economy is number one. Economy, we need to rethink the economy. It will not
Yeah.
work. Whatever we put as theory in the last century, it's collapsing soon. It will
Yeah.
collapse, sure. When you have a small robot doing the job, taxing the robot is a very bad idea. It's a dinosaur idea to a new era. Let's the
Mm-hmm.
robot work. Let's
Yeah.
forget about taxes. The concept of taxes itself maybe will disappear.
Right. Yeah.
You are talking about a human coming together. Yes, that's what we need to do. We need to come together at all levels, from small communities, because this is the base. And I don't want to call
Mhm.
it democracy or anything, because another thing, we need to have open mind. And in China, they don't have democracy, but still they figured out poverty.
Yeah. I know.
Let's call it
Yeah.
collaboration because they are picky. Why they don't like democracy in China and Russia? Because it comes from the US. And the
Yeah.
last century, the US imposed its will on the world.
Yeah.
And I live in the US. I love the US because it's the country of opportunity and freedom. Let's accept that. But at the same time, worldwide, it was not always good. Sometimes
U.S. has done
America,
a lot of bad things.
yeah, but I don't think intentionally. But anyway,
I know.
the
I know.
side effect that you talk about, right? We try
Yeah.
to solve our problems and we create maybe
I
bigger
know.
problems.
I know.
And
Yeah.
it's time we figure it out. I am hopeful that with AI on our side, we can handle much more and complex information. So
Yeah.
we human, with our capacity of intuitive thinking and gut feeling, we can make better decisions. We need a
Hmm.
lot of transparency, but it will come from down for the first time. That
Yeah.
means this new generation will force humanity to work together because we have no other choice. What are we going to do this time? It's the same
Hmm.
planet, right? Like if you
Yeah.
put regulations and you don't apply them by other country, I like this. It's always funny when you see European Union regulations. Hey, we don't use this kind of energy; it's polluting. We use the other one. But next to their door, we are polluting. So Whatever you are
Yeah.
doing, the same planet. It doesn't
Yeah, I
matter.
know. I
You need
know.
to
Yeah.
create what, in my opinion, realistic steps. And here again, I agree with my hero Elon Musk when he says, "Listen, we still need fossil fuel. We didn't figure it out how to get rid of them, but we can. Like the scientific capacity to go solar 100% is here. We have
Oh
it.
yeah. Completely.
What's lacking is the economy behind it. That means
Yes.
it will happen. I'm sure 100% will happen. This is not like let's call it stupid hope. It's that it will collapse. The
Mhm.
either it will we will act a little bit before or much more before. And my role, in my opinion, is to educate until let's act now. Let's do
Yeah.
something before it happens because it will happen. When
Yeah.
suddenly you have no income from taxes, and suddenly it's very easy to create wealth with robots and automation.
Hmm.
Soon you will have three people creating a company that generate billions of dollars. So you know what could happen? Inflation. That's what
Oh
will
yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And, we will try rise. Let's rise interest rate. I will give them an exclusivity. Now we are talking a lot about it because they are seeing something strange. What's happening? We raise interest rate, inflation is not going down. I would give them the real reason before they struggle a lot. Inflation
Yeah.
is not happening before because of your interest policy. It's happening because of technology improving so fast, so productivity is going so high, and then we have much more liquidity in the system. What you need is to direct this liquidity to people, to middle class. Here,
Hmm.
I put it in my book briefly, but I am believe in it strongly. We need universal basic income.
Hmm.
It will not create debt or inflation if it's done. And I'm suggesting to use AI to figure it out. You have a
Right.
very complex tool now called AI and machine learning. Let's use it to figure out inflation, how to do universal basic income, and how to generate money for the good of humanity, how to create mega projects to save the planet using AI itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here where's the hope with AI, because it will help you figure it out. As a human,
Hmm.
it will not figure it out by itself. It's still dumb. The machine is
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
limited. But
Yeah.
associated with our human intelligence and empathy, we need a lot of empathy in this love, in this world.
Yeah.
Much
Yeah.
more love. And we need to understand each other more. We need to stop polarizing this world.
Yeah.
Democrat against Republican. We are all here American. Myself, I'm Canadian, but we are living together, right? It's the same continent, the same world.
Hmm.
And Russian are not bad people. Stop trying to use fear, right?
Hmm.
It's the fear of NATO that drive the Putin somehow to act in a very weird way. I don't want to insult anyone and attack Ukraine, right? And this is
Hmm.
dangerous. War are bad. War are bad. We need to stop them. The same thing in Israel and Palestine. We need peace. We need to stop thinking confrontation and think collaboration. Regulation is a must. Responsible AI is a must. We need to build AI responsibly. And here I want to add a term that I always use. When we talk responsibly and ethically, that doesn't mean trusting the CEO of Microsoft. I like when he goes and he takes, let's develop AI responsibly and ethically. That means trust me, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. I know. I know.
No, I, I
Yeah.
trust you, but I will verify you. At the end, this
Yeah.
is not what responsibly means, right? Responsibly means we are all responsible somehow.
Everyone
We
can
control.
participate in,
Exactly. To know what is
citizens having a
algorithm.
say.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
need to have open source. They have no
Yeah.
choice. And
Yeah.
I am for open source, but I am also for a profit. I want people to get a return on their work, on their research. But
Yeah.
open source in the meaning, everybody needs to know how you are building these algorithms. Don't tell
Yeah.
me it's emerging behavior. Don't bullshit me. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
Well, let
expected
me
behavior
let
in
me
the
tell you what worries me about open source AI is that, we know that there will be people doing harmful stuff with AI, right? There's going to be cyber attacks. There's going to be stealing from banks. There's going to be identity theft. There's going to be counterfeiting of money. There's going to be creating pandemic viruses. There's going to be new weapons. There's going to be all these things. And so open sourcing AI seems to me like saying, hey, here you go, guys. Just do whatever you want and let all the bad people do the bad things instead of maintaining some kind of control over it, which I agree should not be just a handful of big companies getting to decide everything for us, but that locking it up among a few companies at least gives you some control over one of the most powerful things ever created with a lot of unintended side effects, you know? And so, I don't know, could it be maybe those big few companies, but with government involved so that the citizens can influence it that way instead of just like, hey guys, do whatever you want? That decentralized thing really worries me because that's been
First of
so
all,
much of
you are worried from a very complex problems, which is when you give bad people very strong and powerful tools, they can do harm, right?
yeah, I know.
Like in our history, let's go back to what happened after the Second World War. Okay, the U.S. emerged from this war with the monopoly of nuclear power and nuclear bombs, especially nuclear bombs. And then I have seen this movie, maybe people say it. I know the story before, but anyway, there was this Oppenheimer movie and how finally some scientists give secret to the Russian to create somehow a balance of power. So I will not call it open source because nuclear energy, we don't have open source or nuclear power. And I will distinguish also because you said a lot of things. I will go one by one. So first of all, let's stay with technology related to information or information technology related innovations like software, AI. These kind of technologies, it's very easy to replicate and do. And even if you don't do it open source, let me tell you what will happen. There are always reverse engineering in this kind of technologies, very easy to do. Okay. If you don't do it open source, you are just, in my opinion, punishing the poor people. Because let's go to Chinese and Russian. They don't need your open source. They're reverse engineers with their capacity of reverse engineering everything. Mm-hmm. Like the day you have a software, they reversed in the next day. They have the code. They have everything. They don't need open source. Open source, I want to make it clear because sometimes people mix things. And I will give it from a perspective now of academician. I teach computer engineering in the university, and I teach reverse engineering, and I reverse engineering even at very low level. Because when you tell people in the introduction computer engineering or digital circuit design, that means very low level of programming too. And believe me, we have tools to reverse and reconstruct the software roughly. It will not be working software because reverse engineering is complex domain too. That means not because OpenAI is operating today with their ChatGPT, the Chinese will have a version working tomorrow, but they reverse the code so they can figure out how it works. They don't need your open source. You know who need your
and if they can't figure it out, they'll just hire somebody from those companies.
That's more accelerating. But even if they don't, even if they're, imagine we live in a very polarized world. You cannot hire from the American companies to Russian and Chinese. You have the code you are using, right? There is executable. There is a way always to reverse engineer that at their level because they have too much manpower. They have the capacity to do it. So who is benefiting from the open source? I will tell you, little people who have startup, little people. This is why we need it, and also to check what the code is, how these things works. So people who doesn't have the mean to reverse engineer and do big things, they will be benefiting from open source, and regulator will be benefiting from open source because I don't think a representative in the Congress, maybe one out of 1,000 of them, will be able to to read code, open source, and tell us if it's a good code or not. Most of them are not. So they need people at basic people level who will tell them what's inside the code, right? Is it good code or evil code? Is there bias in the algorithms or not? We know there is a lot of bias in the algorithm. That's we know it already. It's not. It's something we are aware of. So open source will not prevent. Stopping open source will not help anyone. It will just penalize the poor people. Because talk about perspective of computer people, right? If I have access to open source, I can build my own startup quicker and with lower mean. If you tell me no open source, that means only rich and powerful and government can do the code. So let's go back to another problem, and I never figure it out. Information age and capacity of doing harm, it comes also with capacity of doing forensic quickly. Not only
of doing what you said?
Forensic investigations.
Forensic, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can excuse my accent.
That's okay.
French accent for real. I'm French Canadian.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, so now we can do forensic quickly too. We can figure out who did it like this. And I ask myself why we don't do it. Listen, I will tell you a small experience when I was younger in Montreal, in Canada. There was a friend of mine who struggled with drugs. And unfortunately, he died from overdose or poison dose. And I was involved in the story because I couldn't believe it. First, I was shocked that he is on drugs. He didn't figure like it. He was a very nice guy, not someone in the partying or anything, okay? And then we knew who sold him the drugs. We knew the person. And this person is known and his boss is known. And I asked myself, why the police is not moving? I called him. Hey, we know this guy did this guy did that. Okay, thank you. We cannot do anything.
Yeah.
This is like, there is evil in this world. There is corruption in this world. And let's go back to cybersecurity threats. It's real. But also with technology, we can know them. And most of the time, I don't believe they don't know. They are not telling us the truth. For political reason, because I believe most of the hacking coming from China, Russia, these places, and it's supervised by government. You need a lot of mean to do a hacking for Microsoft or even to take the social security numbers. It's somehow the Russian and Chinese trying to tell American, hey, you are not that great anymore.
Yeah.
You have advancement in technology, but hey, we have hackers, we have cyber criminals, but the US also have the mean to do harm to them too.
Yeah.
So
everybody's doing it.
Somehow it's a demonstration of power. It's showing each party, hey, we can harm you, so don't do anything. So there is a balance of, let's call it peace, because everyone can destroy the other one, and somehow mutual destruction is the reason why we didn't have nuclear war since World War II, right? So let's go back, and I'm trying here to have a small thought about it and tell you, we need to improve our capacity of preventing harms, but let's do it the right way. The right way is not to stop technology, not to oppose research and development, not to attack the wrong direction. The real direction is go to the bad fitters, put them in jail, put regulation, tell us who they are anyway, CIA, they know everything. They know who is doing everything. But when they will act, I have no idea. They act when they want to act, right? Like sometimes they will tell you, this guy is WikiLeaks, let's put him in prison because they didn't like what he leaked, right? But other people, we don't know. We got attacked. Cyber attack. I will make it easy. I will tell you, yes, but it will make easy also to know who did it and to prevent it.
Right.
So it will lead us to other things, and you said it. Okay, that means we can steal money easier from the banks. True. I will tell you something else. We can create fake money easier too. So again,
I know.
that brings us to the problem. The problem, the economic model based on the old centuries idea will collapse. We need to figure out something else. Maybe the notion of bank itself need to change. What does that mean? Accumulating too much money in one place. Lock it up. and the other people are starving, so they will figure out a way to steal the money.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's rethink
It's like
more.
a system that needs to break. I mean, hopefully we can break it in a helpful way
We need
rather than
we have
letting it all overwhelm us.
it will collapse
Yeah,
anyway. Like when
yeah,
quantum computing, and give quantum computing 20, 30 years, will go public. That's worse than AI in terms of this perspective, because no secret anymore, no password,
right. Yeah,
and break
yeah,
any code quickly. I don't think we are
yeah,
near. I think at least 30, 40 years maybe to reach that point.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's again, we need to rethink society, go back to the basic, instead of just having fear dictating our behavior and exclusivity to our leaders. Your old
yeah,
system will collapse. Let's work on the new system now before.
yeah,
Why we want to suffer? Why want people to suffer from
yeah,
everything? And starting from a global warming perspective, one of the ideas that I put in bring in the book is really making great projects, huge project, and using AI this time to serve this great project to save the planet, to save the humanity, rethink the economy. And AI is a perfect ally, because a lot of complex things that we couldn't figure in the past, now we'll have tools to figure it. I will not tell you AI will figure it. This is not true. But
yeah,
human
yeah,
will figure it out. We will figure out global warming in the upcoming 20 years for two reasons.
yeah,
One, we have no choice but to do it. And two, we have the mean finally. We have an alliance with the machine that will lead us to greater intelligence, super intelligence. But this super intelligence is a human augmented intelligence, not machine
yeah,
intelligence.
yeah,
It's immoral to go and develop super intelligent machine, in my opinion,
right.
even if you are far behind it. And that's what I'm arguing in the book. And I tell people, if you are so, let's call it, obsessed with the creating intelligence, there is a natural way called making babies. And if you want to create super intelligence, make these babies super intelligent in the new
Mhm.
generation. So if you have
Yeah,
obsession of recreating intelligence, we have already the mechanism to do it. Let's do it the right
yeah,
way.
yeah. There's so much I want to talk about. Let me talk about economy for a sec, and then maybe we can come back to the super intelligent thing. So, I've been enjoying our talk about the changes to the economy that are coming. And within all these existential threats I talk about and try to raise awareness about, most of them, why I worry is because they'll cause an economic collapse, whether it's climate change or the other destruction of nature or the more pandemics or war or the massive migration from climate change that overwhelms us. Like all these things could lead to an economic depression where we have tons of people starving, right? So many of these are economic. Like we do need a new economic system, especially to protect the planet so that we don't kill ourselves with our economics. And so, as if we can get ahead of it and be proactive instead of letting it overwhelm us, we could create a system where we manage our economy rather than just letting it do whatever it does. Now, some people, as they hear my words, will fear that I'm a communist and that I'm proposing like Soviet style, from the 50s and 60s. But that's not what I'm describing. The reason that kind of communism failed is that a government did not have the capacity to try to manage what it tried to. And, you can't have the central government knowing everything and managing everything. It's just impossible. But with artificial intelligence, it gives us the ability to manage the complexity of the economy in new ways. For instance, we need to drastically reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and all our other over extraction of resources from nature. So the trees, the minerals, the plastic, the oil, the pollution, and the way to manage that is through pricing. So you can't, when the bad thing or the harmful thing is cheap, that's dangerous. Everybody goes for the cheap thing and it's destroying stuff. You have to make the harmful thing more expensive than the good thing. But that requires really managing things. It's complicated. There's, millions or billions of products on Earth using so many resources from so many places that the human mind, unaided, can't really manage it. But with AI, we probably could, Like, I don't know the details of how it's going to work, but we could actually price all of our products so that they reflect the economic damage they're doing. So then we can constrain our overconsumption. And also, then we can manage the flows of money to deal with inequality in the world. So we can do all this stuff without screwing the poor people because they can't afford stuff. We can deal with those at the same time, but like we need help if we're going to get that done in the right way. So I guess as we talk about this, I'm feeling a little more hope that, all right, maybe we can dive in and just do that. Um,
Listen,
so,
you said a lot of things. All of them are interesting, and I share with you the output desired, but of course, I will talk one by one because there are different things here. First of
yeah.
all, in terms of communism, communism was always fascinating, right? Because it's practically all people get everything. Its abundance is, hey, you don't need money to buy a car, we give you a car. You don't need to buy an apartment, we give you an apartment. The government, I mean, the collective, let's call it. Because when you call it communism, we go to the Cold War. Let's call it the collective. Because if you call it the collective, here we go to Star Trek and maybe a different kind of way to talk about it, right? But I will tell
And I'll
you,
just insert too that communism often gets associated with totalitarianism
which is
because
that.
at the same time the Soviets were restricting free speech and they were like limiting rights, and we don't want any of that.
And their way to achieve the communism was through destruction, was oppression, and war, which does not make sense, right? If you take the theory, hey, one Tchaikovsky, I think his name was, the leader who put in prison because he was against Stalin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was one of the founder of the communism, one of the
Mm-hmm.
leader of their thought, and the Soviet put him in prison because they want power, not only ideas. Ideas was a mean for Stalin at that time to
Mm-hmm.
go away with his ambition, rise to power, right? But
Yeah.
I will tell you something: that communism or the Soviet Union brought good things to the humanity. We need to accept it, like mass education. It does not
Mm-hmm.
exist before. Public
Yeah.
health. And then the capitalistic world, because they are scared of collapsing, they give it to their population. Let's give them public health. Let's give them mass education, especially in Europe where the confrontation was. And they did it better than the communist people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, there are ideas. Let's not give them a label. And one idea
Right.
that was always fascinating and never happened in the Soviet Union was equality. They pretend they are for equality, but it never happened. The generals used to live in a fancy way of living, and the
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
has nothing. And that killed
Yeah.
the dream. In my opinion, it didn't collapse because of its communism. It collapsed because of negative emotion, and they killed ambition. With no
Yeah.
ambition, nobody would work. You put the gun in his head and you tell him go to work. He's working like this. It's very
Yeah.
little
Right.
in energy.
Yeah.
Productivity
Yeah.
is zero. Suddenly, their manufacturing facility were lacking any enthusiasm, no innovation. Nobody cares because if they
Mm-hmm.
work 100 hours a week or 10 hours a week is the same output.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what went wrong. Suddenly, their advancement, because in the 60s, the Soviet Union were advanced, and it's the most advanced country in the world. This is the
Mm-hmm.
truth. And in the 70s is the worst. We went from 60 to 78, full collapse. What
Yeah.
happened? No dream, no ambition,
Right.
no motivation. That's what killed the Soviet Union. Not the
Hmm.
fact that they have public health. That was good. Not the
Yeah.
fact that
Yeah.
they have mass education.
Right.
Was good too. But the fact that nobody want to innovate anymore, nobody want to work anymore. It's and equality is not here anyway. Like the
Hmm.
who has power, and in that case, it was, as you said, police state, military power. They had a
Hmm.
good life, huh? They have a fancy life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't like this experience, but we need to take some ideas from it. And one of the major idea that worked and was even duplicated in Europe, but then in the United States to a level, because we talk when America was great. I will tell you when it was great, when it was competing with the communists. That's the truth.
Right.
The competition with the communism, what at its high, and this is the 60s and the 70s, whereas with the economy of the US was the best because we are giving for the people. We don't want them to embrace communism. So
Hmm.
somehow we took care of the people. And this is what we need to go. So we talk about restructuring the economy. It needs to be not communist, not capitalist, but human, empathetical level. Let's take care
Yeah.
of each other. The basic, right? And keep the
Yeah.
dream. We want people to dream and motivate and work and innovate because this is our way out. If tomorrow we have, I don't know, meteorite or something hitting the planet, it's only science that can deflect it, not, and we don't have the technology
Hmm.
today. We need to invent it.
Yeah.
So, still, you
Yeah.
are talking about resources. Let me go about it. Resources is very. We need to distinguish resources because some resources, I think, we need to take take it quickly, no problem. Every mineral or inorganic resources, I think there is no issue of transforming it, but it needs to be balanced with the environment. Like the output here matters, not the input. Take
Mm.
resources, but make them biodegradable, your product, make it conformist to the earth. Like if you take a metal, you transform it, then you bring it back to the earth, nothing will happen, will not harm the earth. But when you make, let's call it forever chemicals, and by the way, I had my most of my money made with testing these kind of things because I have
Hmm.
labs and we sold them, and it wasn't testing of harmful things.
Yeah.
So that's bad. So
Yeah.
we need a technology that serves us, not a technology that serves some of us. So
Right.
greed need to be labeled, call it as is, not
Hmm.
technology. But again, let's go back to economy. Economy need to change. We need to talk about it. We need a mix of ideas that worked from communism. There is nothing bad about calling them collective or good, and ideas
Hmm.
from capitalism that works, which is motivation, innovation, profit is a motivation. It's a motivation, right? People want to become rich. This is why they
Hmm.
start companies and work hard and accumulate money, right? In the same time, you don't want to harm the environment. So I think resources need to be consumed in a balanced way. And the word balanced is big deal. Like organic things, if we consume organic resources, it need to be balanced. That means there is a renewal process, right?
Hmm.
We cut
Yeah.
trees, we plant trees. We don't just cut, and then
Right.
we are destroying the 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 breathing organ of the planet, right? So
Yeah.
the same thing. We build things to be biodegradable.
The one one of the biggest concerns I've had about artificial intelligence, I rarely hear talked about, which is that our current economy is sort of designed to convert nature into products and pollution. That's how it's set up right now, and that's why we're destroying the earth.
Yeah, but
And
it's
so
again,
if we
right?
in yeah. But with that system in place, if we add artificial intelligence to it, that means all these big companies will be even better at cutting trees, even better at drilling oil, even better at making more huge factories to make more things we don't really need that destroy the planet. And so, if it's just another way in which a lot of my fears about the new technology is inserting it into our crappy systems, our ineffective governments, and our economic system that is just crazy.
You
And
have
so if
a
we
major point.
change those systems, I think I'm better on board with the technology,
But
you
you
know?
have a major point here. If we use the technology to apply dinosaurs era rules, it's a catastrophe. I will
Right.
give you a figure that I like also. In the 30s, 1930s, there was this animation cartoons when people imagined what a cleaning robot will be. And it was a big robot, humanoid shape, holding a mop
Yeah.
and mapping fast. I don't know if you saw that cartoon, but it's somehow what a lot of people are doing, as you said. Oh, okay, now we have a new AI technology. Let's cut tree faster, really. Suddenly you have a very great tool to innovate and do things. And what you will do is cut trees faster. That's what you
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate it happens a lot, but here comes the role of educators and people and authors to tell people no, what you need to do is to do something new. Like Ford said, if I ask people what they want, they will tell me faster horses, right, not cars, at his time. So again, if you use AI to make combustion cars more efficient, it's a bad way of it's not a bad way, it's a good way, right? But if you make electric car, it's yet much better, right? Using AI. So AI is a
Mm-hmm.
tool. It could accelerate technology and innovation and accelerate how we manage the economy. We're talking about the economy and AI. So with AI will figure out how to manage the economy better, how to do a new kind of production and innovation. We need to invest in new technologies, not use AI to take the old technologies and make them faster and stronger.
Right. Yeah. I know.
But a lot of people will do it. Will tell you, hey, now we have AI. Let's do a 1000 mob to clean the service instead of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
This sort of future vision we've been creating of how to use AI to manage the earth and manage the economy, gives a lot of power to governments, I would assume. But one layer under that I would propose is that AI can help us do citizen engagement better and help citizens be involved in this process. Like, I don't want to just make the president super powerful, right? It's like I would want to see better um, public conversation in our culture, like use AI to overcome the crappy social media dynamics that we have right now that's driving polarization. And I heard this podcast on 180,000 hours interviewing Audrey Tang, who works in Taiwan, and they've had some really interesting efforts where they've built computer tools that help citizen engagement. It helps the government know really what people are thinking out there and what they want, what they desire, and it helps citizens to talk together in a way that forms consensus rather than driving them apart, like today's social media often does. And these are like the beginning tools of how you can use technology to foster like a culture coming together and making decisions together. So that's the other way, like that process could guide all of these suggestions we're making about how to manage the economy. You
true.
know?
Three things AI can help in this kind of things. First of all, getting rid of false information, but
Yeah,
can also create false information. That's a balance.
I know.
But
I
when
know.
everyone has access to AI and they can program themselves, they can create their own, let's call it a news agent that give them the right.
Mhm.
Let's start here first, because
Yeah.
educated, smart new generation is the base for our changes. You want people who
Hmm.
are educated, who knows the truth, and then to stop polarization, you need empathy. You need to going back to being a human. And
Yeah.
for that, there is a lot of effort to re-educate people and tell them, hey, it's not Taiwan, it's not China, it's humans. It's not Republican, Democrat, it's American. You are all human. You are living in the same place. And at the end of the day, you can have a debate without hitting each other, without fighting with each other. And of course, it starts AI by helping you getting better information, organizing better the information, and direct democracy. Direct democracy can be achieved using high tech. That means instead of, I don't understand why today we need a representative going to Washington.
Yeah.
We don't. We don't.
Right.
And stay where he is and doing remote work, by the way, and that will save a lot of money.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Better, the people he represent, let's say the truth, completely disconnect from the people he represent. It's only a means to elect him in power, right? And most of them forever. We have senators, I don't know, they are here since I don't know when, and until they are either too sick to do their job,
or too old. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. I know.
That's what's happening now. Direct democracy can be achieved with AI. Can be achieved. We don't need really, but are we ready for that? Will people give up their power to the people? Because we talk about democracy, true, but democracy that we have in the US, it's by representation, right? It's not direct democracy. Maybe 80% of Americans don't support the decision that a Supreme Court will do, right? There are people appointed by elected officials who are representing some people. I don't remember, but I made the math once. I think a senator is like representing how many? 3 million people?
Yeah.
One person talking for 3 million people. Okay. 200 years ago, makes sense. We need someone to go to Washington and represent these people. But now, especially after the pandemic, because during the pandemic, we learned how to work remotely, we learned how to use communication tools better. Do we need really representatives that represent 3 million people? Why not developing tools to communicate with the 3 million people efficiently? Having AI tools that will help us. I'm against giving power to AI tools because here we are cheating ourselves. AI cannot handle it. There's a human behind the AI. Huh? It's not AGI. It's not autonomous AI. Not true. So it's somehow, instead of the power is with the representative, you give it to the designer or the boss of the high-tech company who decide what the algorithm is. So at the end of the day, we need responsible AI, but it will help us create what we call direct democracy. It will help us educate people better, because direct democracy, you need also people who are educated. If we have still people who thinks the earth is flat, right? We have still people who doesn't believe in science at all.
Right.
That's dangerous. There are people who still thinks all crazy things and are against new ideas. So at the end of the day, we need a balance in this world. And I think AI as a tool for information, it's a great tool that will help us, in fact, reach democracy for real. Because democracy starts by information. So if you have your own news agent, you can know the truth. Other people try to create fake, but I tell people with the same tool that create fake can distinguish fake from real too.
It could keep an eye on me while I go through the internet and say, hey, that post that's wrong, or that one's a lie, or, there's no data to back up that,
Exactly. It's two-way. So now you have the power to create fake, but you have the power to check fake, to verify fake. It's the same tools that can create and verify and check. Prove. So the real democracy is by, as you said, all people are involved, communities, but they need to know what's good for them. If some people still think that global warming is a hoax and let's pollute because it's cheaper, as you said, they are telling you about it. I will tell you, we need to educate these people, but they need to figure it out themselves. If any lead go and tell them you are wrong, they will be more stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
To give them the
Yeah.
tools to figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I will not tell you I am afraid of the future. I'm very hopeful, and I think that will happen. But that doesn't mean we don't need to work. We don't need to educate. We don't need to talk about the danger. This is why I appreciate a lot what you are doing, because without um, educating the people about the risk, will not avoid the problems. We'll go
Right.
into them. So we need to tell people,
Yeah.
yes, AI is a great tool. It's our great ally. It's the reason maybe we'll achieve super intelligent human and we'll solve our problems as a human. And problems
Yeah.
that either we created by accident, because knowledge comes slowly. Something happened
Mm-hmm.
during that pandemic. People tell me, yeah, but scientific change their mind all the time. I would tell them, hey, they are not politicians,
Right.
right? Politicians
Yeah.
don't change their mind because they have an agenda, they fight for it. That's it.
Yeah.
Scientific, if today I have an information, I made a decision. If I have another information tomorrow and I make another decision, that's what science is about. It's not,
I
hey,
know.
you
It's
change your
learning.
mind. Let's change your mind. Yes, you're not a
Yeah.
stubborn politician. You are
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
science to make a decision. The same thing, we need to
Yeah.
educate people to figure it out themselves. Education
Yeah.
to change. We don't need to educate people about theory that does not exist anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I was surprised, very surprised, that still teach people philosophy of the old Greece.
Mm.
When we have a mathematician in 1930 who proved that you cannot prove everything. It's
Mm.
Gödel theorem and logic and
Yeah.
completeness of mathematics. And
Mm-hmm.
practically what he proved, we need to be humble. He proved formally that you cannot prove everything formally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's pretty cool.
it's
Yeah, we're not going
great.
to know everything. We're humans and we're always going to be limited.
Yeah, but what he
So,
did, he proved that a lot of things that we are teaching our kids in school is not true.
hmm,
Not
yeah,
always
got it.
possible. Okay, education needs to change, and AI is a great ally for that. We need to improve it at two level. Like teachers need to use AI to improve their
Mm,
capacity
yeah.
of teaching, right? And kids
Yeah.
to use AI to learn better, and then go up and up because you talk about democracy. Democracy need to be happening when people are educated and knows
Hmm.
the truth from fiction or fake news, right?
Yeah.
Himself, and then participation. We need. I don't know if that's possible, even because now we are talking power. Who will give up power, right? Do
I
you
don't
think
know.
Congress
Yeah.
will tell you, let's do? We don't need Congress anymore. Let's do direct democracy because everybody can go into a Zoom, right? Let's have a big meetings and vote and discuss
Hmm.
because we can
Yeah.
do it now. We don't need Congress or senators or anything in terms of
Yeah.
representation. It could
Yeah.
be done. Would it will be done? No, maybe too early. Do we need to wait for a collapse before change the system? I hope not. I hope let's change it before collapsing because it's going for collapse. With the technology advancing that fast, if we don't move and change things, it will collapse anyway. We'll figure out
Yeah.
that the old system cannot handle innovation anymore.
Yeah. Well, I like to believe that if we can innovate so much on our technology, we can also innovate on our governments, and our politics. Like that's all changeable too. It just requires having imagination and being smart about it. That's the innovation we need. So,
It will
um,
happen. Everybody can program sooner. Everybody can do programs, agent,
yeah,
news.
yeah, yeah. We should aim for the finish line because we're going to run short on time soon, I think.
Mhm.
But could you tell us for just a couple minutes why you think that developing a super intelligence more intelligent than humans is a bad thing?
Yeah, first of all, we don't know anything about this super intelligence. Like, first of all, I said we don't know how we human work, right? If you create
Hmm.
this kind of super intelligence, you are advanced, you are adventuring into unknown, you don't know what's the output. So if the output is bad for humanity, if this new species you are adventuring in creating will be evil for a reason or another, or let's say not evil, because I don't believe it will be evil, but it could be disinterested of humanity in general, why we will do it? Why you will cause massive problems or errors for your species, right? So I think it's immoral to adventure into this, but I think also we are not there yet. Okay, like even with everything talking about it, it's hypothetical right now, so we can have the luxury of talking that we don't need super intelligence. And I tell you, we have the mean to replicate intelligence by making babies. We have the mean of making super intelligence in human. So let's do it in human. Let's have super intelligent human. We human, we have other superpower, which is morality. And by the way, we don't know how it works again. Why we have morals? Some people associated with religion, maybe. Maybe it's divine spark in us. I don't know. Maybe it's something else, but we have morality too. And I don't know if we go on an adventure and create super intelligence, will it have, it has the morality? Can we create morality in an artificial way? By the way,
doubtful.
we are not sure in a natural way. Morality, even between us humans, sometimes we don't agree, right? If this is moral or not.
Yeah.
So it's very dangerous, irresponsible to go on an adventure in creating super intelligence. But let's be humble. I don't think we are there yet. I don't think we have the scientific mean to create super intelligence. We are far, far from that. Not even AGI, that means artificial general intelligence, intelligence that artificially mimic a human. We are far from this. So I think it's immoral. We shouldn't do it. And even we don't have the capacity to do it, we shouldn't invest in it. The real thing, let's be human. Let's be empathetic and create super intelligence human that will help humanity prosper, advance. Let's save our planet. Let's figure out cancer. Let's figure out wealth equality. This is what we need to do. So the singularity of hope is achieving super intelligence by creating super intelligent human, by caring for each other, not by achieving super intelligent machine.
Yeah, nice. I think that's a great place to leave it. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
My thoughts and feelings have evolved during this talk, and I'm going to be unpacking it and thinking about it for the next few days, I think, which is perfect.
It's another perspective. I will tell you, we share the same goal. We want a better planet. We need to save the planet. We need the survival of humans in a better environment, better situation, prosperity for everyone. And prosperity is a good term. It's not being greedy. It's being good and for everyone.
And thank you, listeners, for joining us through this conversation. I hope you'll stay in touch with the Human Survival Project. We've been developing our social media, so you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all those good places, and there'll be more coming. And you can forward that stuff to your friends. But even better would be to not rely on the algorithms in our polluted internet space and just introduce us to a friend. Like if you could take this show and just share it with a friend of yours or a family member or a coworker, just send them a link and say, hey, here's this cool show. Check it out. I hope you will. That would help us really spread the movement. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.